Hello, and welcome everyone. This is Relationships and ROI, a weekly Blab, or our goal is to help you strengthen, build, and nurture your relationships with your ideal audience to have a positive ROI in your business. I'm one of your hosts, Jessica Phillips, the founder and president of Now Marketing Group and the Relationship Marketing System. We have an online marketing agency that helps clients build repeat and referral business with their ideal audience using social media and online marketing. Ravi Shokul is a social media and online customer service expert, and he helps businesses online increase their customer loyalty and showing them how to deliver 5-star customer service. He's also the founder of The Secrets of 5-Star Service, an online membership site showing business owners how they can increase customer loyalty and sales. And last but not least, Mike Gingrich. He's the president of a web agency, Digital Hill. He's also co-founder of Tabsite and the founder of nonprofit I Give Global. He lives and works by the philosophy of always being uncommon and always adding value. Welcome, guys. How are you?
Welcome. Hello. Doing well.
Good. We just had a 4-day weekend here in London, so most people are kind of getting back to the grind now, starting their week a little later than usual.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting back into the workflow after being gone last week. So I tell you, it's back to reality, but getting away was nice. And getting back to the grind is also just as well. I hate to say it, but I missed it. I guess that's how you know you're doing something you love.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yep. Now I got to ask though, because you were at Disney, right? So Disney can give you insights. So do you have any marketing insights that you bring back to us from Disney?
I actually started a blog while I was there. And then my family was like, no,
insights from Disney?
No, it's just like one blog, not like a series or anything. But it was insights from Disney and their marketing, because all of their, I'm not going to share too much because I won't give away the whole blog, but every ride there, I'm like, what is it about Disney? It's so expensive. It rained our first day. The ponchos were $20 for adults, $10 for kids. I'm like, oh my gosh, you pay to stand in line. But everyone leaves and comes happy and excited. It's a full experience. But that is what the key is to Disney, is the experience. Every ride is an experience. It's not just a ride. Every time you're getting food, it's a full experience. Like, they take you through a story before and hit almost all of your senses before you get on the full ride. So it is a magical place. Actually, I even brought my ET in here. In my office now. It's coming back to keep with the theme and the inspiration of adding the experience. So
that
it was
would be
a
good
good
to have
time
over your shoulder, so when people come into the Blab, that they're like, whoa,
what is happening? I was trying to fit him in the shot. It didn't work so well, but my desk isn't long enough to push it back. But I love ET. So on a side note, whole other
they actually have they have a Disney Institute as well, like a dedicated blog to exactly what they do customer experience wise. So that's always good to check out as well and read up on, because it seems like that is at the core of everything they do, like you said.
And it was crazy how clean the place was. I don't know why, maybe the parent in me, but everything was pristine and clean with that many people there, and just, kids, and just going fast back and forth everywhere. You could not find a piece of trash on the ground. You did not see anything out of place. It was just beautiful, the whole place. So a lot of insight to gain from, and they have their hands in everything, radio, television, their own of it. They have a good thing going. But that's for another Blab. Maybe that's a Blab topic.
It's a good starting point, just to kind of warm us up a little bit here.
Yeah,
exactly.
And today's topic, though, we are diving into the keys of networking offline. So even though today we're here online talking about the keys to networking offline, and it's kind of cool that we're all talking about this, because that's how we all met, right? Is offline networking, which led to online networking after the fact. So just the keys that we can gain, because as all of our lives and our time has, become so immersed in social media and digital, there's still something to be said with offline networking and how that can build and strengthen relationships.
Yeah, I think offline, despite live streaming, live video, and everything that seems to be live, is never going to replace the face-to-face interaction that you have with a person. It's like friendships. You can have, like, we're all friends online, right? But when you meet in person, the type of energy you get from someone, or they react to something in front of you, is a lot different. And when we talk about business as well, we've got the benefit of social networks to remember people's birthdays and their faces and everything. Whereas in person, if we met up, then you're going to be able to take other things on board, which you can't do digitally, like, you know, the way I say something or the way I talk, or mannerisms and emotions. And those are things that help obviously build authenticity in the relationship. And also, it's very hard to forget someone if you've left a lasting impression in person, whereas online, we probably connect with thousands of people over a set period, and it's quite easy to lose track of what they're up to or how they're doing. So I think the emotional side of offline is why it's still be key for businesses to fit it into their calendar during the year.
That's a good point. Yeah. And Mike, I know you and I met actually, and this is one of the tips to networking offline. And Ravi, you just led to this, is, you know, adding that personal side of yourself and being memorable. I know Mike and I met at Social Media Marketing World, and there was a bus going over to the Natural History Museum, and, you know, it would have been very easy for me to sit kind of in a empty seat, but I was like, I'm forcing myself. I went to this conference solo. I was like, I'm just going to hustle and make as many connections and connect with people as possible. So I sat next to Mike and we started talking, and I talked to lots of people, you know, everybody did at that event, but we started just diving in and being ourselves and talking about, you know, the event itself and a little bit about us, and learned a lot from each other, found a mutual connection, and started, you know, a online friendship after that, and stayed connected. So when other people are going to conferences, though, or even networking at, you know, maybe it's a chamber event or a grocery store even, or wherever you're going to meet people, you know, what are some of the keys then to making sure that you're making a strong connection?
Yep. You know, I guess for me, it comes back to the two principles that you shared about me at the beginning. So I always try to think about these two things. And the first one is be uncommon and add value. So I'm always trying to evaluate what I can bring to something in that moment in time. So when I'm you know, going to meet someone there, and particularly if I'm going to go to a conference or something like that, you know, I might try to have something, wear something that is just different, you know, kind of thing. So that's the uncommon part. Just so there's somebody might ask me about that, and that's an invitation. But I think on the flip side, then the last piece is always to think about first, how can I add value? You know, and you see this, it's in many different terms and many different ways. Michael Hyatt, in his business life leadership blog, he talks about it as like transformational conversations, that type of thing. But it's a perspective that you bring to it. And I think it's really key today because it's changed. What we used to have was a model where if you're trying to meet someone and kind of size them up, is this somebody that I want to connect with? You know, a leader was one that presented themselves as having answers. Okay. And so they were informational. And I equivalent that to our kind of old marketing techniques, which were billboard oriented. It was you had a billboard, you had a magazine ad, it pushed something to you. That was the answer. But today, I don't think that works. And it is someone that can inspire or connect with you, that leaves a lasting impression. So oftentimes it can be from a question or an add value type thing that says, you know, somehow they're wanting to learn about you and offer you something, you know, based on that. They're trying to, so it does make you have to synthesize information quickly, because you want to, I think it's about asking some questions with a genuine interest in the person, and then trying to synthesize that quickly. Can I make connection points? And I think, you know, going back to Jessica, that's what we did there. We asked a few questions, and, you know, that synthesized and made some connection points. Okay, we might be able to talk about this. We might be able to take a look at this, and, our tab site connection was one of those pieces at that point in time. You were doing work for clients, Facebook, pages were hot, and here's an app that you could run some contests. This is a segue. We could talk about some strategy pieces there. So that's a lot, but it comes down to those two basic things. Can you add value, and can you come across in a unique way, uncommon?
Not salesy. I liked how you said, not presenting yourself like a billboard, because most people, when they enter a networking group, they're like, hi, my name's Jessica, and I do XYZZZZ with these accolades.
Yeah.
How excited are you to meet me?
Yep.
That's not how it works.
Yep.
You can still get that across. We still ended up talking about work, but it didn't start from that. It was about questions, like asking.
We're all people. Yeah. We're all people. We have lives. We experience temperatures. If it's hot, it's cold. Whatever that is. And a quick story is that I recently had a business lunch with someone had connected us, right? So we're going to meet, and they thought that we might be able to do some things together. So we initially sit down and meet, and it started off actually slow, not very well. And when I reflected back on that, it was because we kind of started around the topic that the person put us together with, and so that was kind of just a business related topic. But you know what the breakthrough was when the topic came up. Somehow we got on the topic of, what do you like to do outside of business? And I said, I'm a basketball fan and fanatic. And this, what teams? Notre Dame. He said, I've got season tickets to Notre Dame. And do you think we were bonded after that? I mean, it's just like we made this connection, and literally it changed the temperature of the conversation, and it changed the tone of it. We made a personal connection, and we had an identification, and guess what? We're doing business together.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's another thing. When we're talking about keys to networking online, it's also, you want to, I guess, pick your moments as well, because not everyone's going to be a valuable connection. Like with social media marketing world, you mentioned there's probably thousands, or let's just say hundreds of marketers, right? So the goal isn't to network with every single one of them. I would say the goal would be to listen to all of them and maybe pick out the ones that you feel are a good fit, because then you can go in and find out some deeper conversation about them after more about them, so you can have something to bounce off of. Because I've also been to plenty of events where I've literally, all I've said is my name, and suddenly I'm getting a card shoved in my face saying, make sure you contact me. Or either that, or they've got like a thick bundle just ready to hand out and work the room. So in those situations, you're looking at probably a less than 1% chance someone's even going to look at the card and contact you. Whereas if we all had a talk and said, oh, well, tab site's awesome, and you do social media strategies at the same time, then you're going to be like, well, I'll remember that person at the same time. So I think if you listen out to something that, like we mentioned, Mike, if you can find something that you've got that common ground with and use those touch points to start a conversation, then you're going to build more long-lasting relationships.
Yep.
That's good. I like that. I just jotted in the notes or the comment section, like, listen to everyone, but pick who you want to take on that second date, to get to know better, right?
Yeah.
So I know that I've had business cards too thrown at me, and the people that I want to really remember, I use a trick where I'll take a picture of their business card, or try to take a picture of the business card them, or jot some note down by the business card so I remember who that person is. Yeah. And then try to connect with them on social too after meeting them, so you can become more familiar with some of their their background and kind of their likes, dislikes. You can get a good sense of who they are, and then try to schedule a time to meet back up with them right away. You just don't want too much time to pass in between when you're meeting with them. I know Tyler Anderson shared a great podcast last week, I believe it was, and he was talking about networking at a conference, and he was saying, take some time out from maybe one of the sessions. If you're at a conference, you met someone, maybe block out one of the next time slots that you could, get some notes or have someone else take notes for you, or maybe it's a recorded session, or you're scheduling a time either during that time or before or after to meet with them and, to get to know each other better. Go on that second date.
Yep.
But for some people, Go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say, for some people, I know they're super scared and timid to connect. I mean, Mike, you were a proclaimed introvert. So how did you step out of your comfort zone, and make a lot of connections? I mean, I just watched you over the past, 3-4 years. You've really stepped out, but you've by your own admission said you're an introvert. So I'm sure it was a little uncomfortable at first.
Yeah. I'm not going to be the party in the in the middle of the room kind of guy. But I have a interest in learning about people, and so I've kind of really taken that to heart to take an approach where I want to know something about someone. So to want to jump in and to try to learn something. So I have enough interest in people that that gets me going, and it's I'm not a pitch guy, but I am a guy that will, if someone is looking uncommon, if someone is looking unique, and that's an intro for me, because hey, that's cool. Tell me about it. How'd you come up with that idea or something like that? And because I'm interested. And so I just use that kind of natural interest in learning about how, what makes someone think that way, do that, to turn it into a conversation.
That's a good idea.
And I find that generally people are willing to answer questions and to talk about themselves. So that's kind of my model, and I can, and that's part of me. When I came down to say, what do I want to leave in this world? If it's all said and done, what do I want to leave? Well, I hope people would say that I have been uncommon and I have added value. And so the only way I can add value is if I know something about you. So it kind of comes back from that principle behind me is to, I want to leave something of worth. And so the only way I can do that is if I know a little bit about you to understand what that might be.
I like that.
Yeah,
Robbie, are you outgoing or not?
I think it depends on the topic. Like if I was in a room and someone was talking about something like social media marketing was all about social media. So if I heard something about an update or something where we obviously have knowledge on, I probably wouldn't be able to help myself, but to nudge myself over to that little circle and maybe chime in with something. I wouldn't grab the mic and be like, let's all talk about Blab today or whatever it is. But at the same time, like Mike said, I'd rather spend maybe half an hour on one person and really get deep into conversation than maybe 3 minutes over 10 people type thing. So I think when you network offline, another key is the quality of the conversation rather than the quantity as well. So if you can do your research on attendees or the type of event it's just going to help you work the room a little bit better. I know in some networking events, they segment it out. So for the small business startup market, they have investors in one side of the room or different color sticker, and they might have other people that actually are more technical or marketing. So you just kind of can pick who to talk to, and that way your conversations are valid straight away. So if you can do a bit of research to the type of people that attend, that's one key thing you want to take on board before you even step foot in an event, just to make sure the type of people that attend are going to be the ones there. But there is one question I have on top of that. In all these events, you obviously get the people that are, what's a nice way, to put it would be like, not the freebie people, but the ones who want to sell you every time. How would you overcome someone that's talking about their business and their services a little too much initially? How do you kind of steer that away when you're trying to network and maybe move on to the next person or start talking about yourself?
You introduce them to the other person that just tried to sell you. You're like, hey, I got somebody I know you like to meet. I'm just kidding. No, but I think we've all ran into those people, and also the people that are acting like they're kind of interested when they're talking to you,
Yeah.
but they start talking to you, and then they ask you a question, and then they're looking around for the next person they're going to meet. Those are so annoying too. But I would say I've tried to ask or come up with some questions. Like some of my go-to questions are, what's your next big goal? Because then it's going to get them to answer something a little outside of what they're selling. They may be talking about their products, but it could lead into another conversation, and lead with some of those open-ended questions. If they start talking about something, you say, oh, that's great. Well, what's your next big goal? Like, what would you love to accomplish? And they're going to stop probably for a minute and start thinking about it, and you catch them off guard, because if they already have this pitch kind of deck planned out of everything that they're going to say, when you can just break it up by asking them something different, then hopefully you're going to get a different answer, or they're going to move on to the next person and they realize you're not being sold. So
yeah, I think that's a great way to do it. Another thing that just popped into my head is when you are networking offline, you don't have to be the solution that the person you're talking to is looking for. I know you joked about it earlier, but it's actually a good point, because if I remembered Mike does Facebook applications, and you just talk to me about your Facebook page, maybe I could introduce you to Mike and be that middle person. So if you can network a room on that scale, you don't actually have to possess the skills in the first place, and you might be able to benefit from it tenfold, because you're now the go-to guy to find out who does what, or who to speak to, and you'll become a valuable resource that way as well. So you don't have to be a so-called person with all the answers.
No, that's a great one. Be the connector. Yeah, because that can be the value that you bring. You've listened, you've heard from 20 different people. This person needs that fits with person 16 that you met, Exactly. And so you say, oh yes, hey, let's go connect you right here. And bam, they feel, number one, they're grateful for that connection. Number two, they will remember you.
Yeah, that's how actually I met a couple people from social media marketing world. I met Tyler Anderson. I know we spoke about him earlier, but that's how we met. Someone was a connector for us, and they were like, oh, we were just talking about this. I need you to meet, Tyler over here. And that's how we met. And we, started talking from there. And I tell you, then you form kind of a friendship between multiple different people, and they're going to remember you more because that was a moment that time.
Yep. But okay, let's come back to that. What you just said there is a moment. Mm-hmm. And let's bring it back to Disney. Like you started off, you said that was just a warm up, but it's a moment. You just brought it back in. You said everything was about a moment, whether you were standing in line, whether you just ordered food, but there was a connection, and it was beyond intellectual. Yep. Wasn't it? It inspired, It touched something in the heart that it was a little flicker, and that stood out to you. So that kind of inspiration, or that getting beyond the cerebral, Exactly. So going back to that salesy person in that context, I think I kind of do a little bit of a litmus test with them a little bit, so let's say I'm at a social media conference. One of my questions to them might be, what do you like to do when you're not doing social media? Mm-hmm. It's like, that's the kind of it's just outside of that. We're at a social media conference, and I'm asking, what do they like to do when they're not doing social media? Right. And that's kind of that litmus test. If it's the real salesy person, they'll kind of understand and want to move on, kind of thing, because this guy's, he's not talking business, kind of thing. But if it's someone that is genuinely interested, they're going to offer something, and so then, and what they're typically going to share is something that connects with them. What I'd like to do outside of that. Yep. And then if I talk to them on that level with that, we've made a connection. Mm-hmm.
That's good. Yeah, because then you can share, back. I mean, the goal is to listen to others. The goal is definitely to step outside your comfort zone, but that's how you can do that, because you both said it, either listening to a conversation people are having and see kind of where you're connecting, being open to it, or like you said, finding somebody that's uncommon and going out and spotting it that way visually, and going and talking with them, but then asking the questions that really will help you dive deeper into that relationship. I've seen it though when people go to conferences or even groups, out in the public that are meetups, but they go as a team and then they stay together, and it makes it harder to do that.
Yeah, you can't burst into that little groupie.
Exactly. Yeah. So like when we go to conferences, I just tell the team, "Hey, I'll see you in 3 days." Let me know. We try to divide and conquer so we can get the most out of whatever we're attending. But you have to make sure you're stepping outside of your comfort zone too, and breaking up if you're with a lot of people, because it's going to be very hard for someone to come in if you're talking with them and there's 3 other people on this side and one of them on the other side to really be open and connect. It's going to be a lot harder for you to connect with them versus if you're all new, and don't know each other.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think, sorry, Mike, were you going to say?
Well, no, I'm just going to add the point that I think that, ultimately we have to look at the reason why we're doing this, and that is that people do business with people they like. I mean, when it comes down to it, I mean, that's a key differentiator. We talk about, relationships and ROI is that there's a lot of businesses out there. There's a lot of competition. There's a lot of things that offer similar products, and only it's going to come down to, who do you feel like you can connect with? Who do you feel like is trustworthy, is somebody that you want to work with in an ongoing fashion? So that's what I was going to add there.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I'm just going to add to it because we are talking about offline as opposed to our usual online side. But I think body language is one we haven't mentioned, which is very important as well. So you mentioned the kind of salesy type people like to look around the room and see where people are. But if you're talking to someone face to face, or you're standing in front of them, then I think making eye contact and even your body facing towards them are simple things that shows that you're also interested. And little things like crossing your arms shows you a bit more closed. I mean, it's impossible to make eye contact for like the whole time. Like that'd be a bit strange, to be honest. But if you're able to like stay engaged while they're saying something important, then it just shows them that you're obviously listening. So I think body language doesn't need to be overlooked as well. So if you are working a room, try not to, work your way to the point where your back's facing most of the crowd. If you can, work your way to the point where you're kind of in that area where you kind of can be seen by many others as well, then it allows people to wander in. So I think that's another thing to mention, which differentiates it compared to online.
Yeah, and we've both, this goes into kind of body language or the way that you're presenting yourself, right? But you both mentioned it earlier too, but it's standing out and being memorable or uncommon. So know that when you're going to the conference, like I've seen do you remember Allie that had the name badges at Social Media Marketing World? Yep. Yeah, you met her. How many people were there? But everybody knew this.
She's from Kentucky and she now works for Social Media Marketing.
Yeah. So see, cool. But she came to the conference and she had just a name badges that she was giving out as little ribbons that said like, I color outside the lines and, I play nice with others or whatever it was that you could pick from that would describe your personality. And she brought these ribbons and it was just something that was unique and that she wanted to connect with others on. But, she came there presenting something to brand herself, 1, 2, to be uncommon, 3, to connect with people. But I thought it was genius. There were several other people that were doing some things like that at the conference, like Brian Fanzo. And before, everyone knew him. He still wore his branding on his hats and his shirts. I tweet fast, or I talk fast and I tweet faster, or something like that. And he had that and was branding himself. So it was easy to spot him out in a crowd. Mike, you always wear purple. I usually always wear blue, but I'm breaking it up today. But at a conference, I'll strategically wear like brighter colors or bolder prints or something to stand out. But you have to know what you want to do to stand out that still feels natural to you, that is going to then help you connect with others, whether it's from your apparel to, the questions that you're asking to be in common, maybe the little, the ribbons or whatever that extra piece is that you're bringing, but making sure that you're using that time wisely while you're there to stand out and differentiate yourself. And be uncommon. Have you seen any other good ones like that at conferences?
Yeah, well, funny enough, like on my social profiles, I've got the little cartoon face, and on my business card, it's actually that cartoon face. So when you've got a pile of business cards, there's always a reaction when they see mine, because they're like, you look exactly like your card, and it's like putting it up next to my face. And like, when you go home at the end of the day, we all just dump the cards and maybe look at it the day after or whatever it is. But if you have something personal, like for example, I've got, exactly. So you got your face on there, you got a logo. So that's another thing as well with networking offline. The business card probably plays an important role. I wouldn't say more vital, because nowadays you've got smartphones where you can just add them on the spot, right? But the initial business card is something they may pass on to a colleague or someone else who's a decision maker. So if you do have the info about yourself in a nice summary format, like or what you do in that small section, then that's also going to be key. So if you can have fun with your branding and business cards, that also helps as well.
Yeah, we put some fun things on our cards. Mine says,
I got some echo.
I did too. Is it better now?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, it's cool. It's good my side. I didn't think I heard anything.
I did hear it. But I put like shameless social media addict and a few other, like we all put like little fun facts, but it helps people remember you later when your photo's on there, on your card, or something different that helps you stand out.
Exactly. Obviously I'm wary of time as well, but there's another thing, just seem to be popping the ideas today. But so when you introduce someone, when you've just met them, do you feel that you need to have a 30-second elevator type pitch ready in your head, or do you guys kind of just go with the flow when asked, what do you do? What do you think is the best approach when networking, when they ask you that all important question?
Jessica, go for it.
Oh, I was going to say, go for it, Mike. Kind of a mixture of both. I say what you call yourself maybe should be a little uncommon to make them ask a little bit more. So like if you're doing sales, maybe, like I always loved that Subway called the people that make the sandwiches, the sandwich artist, but like have something unique, maybe different that's added in there, or talk about like who you serve, but do it in a way that sounds like you are excited about it. I've always, when you meet people and they're like, I do sales for a large corporate company or something, like that's not going to leave a lasting impression versus if you, said, I'm a relationship marketing evangelist and I work with hospitals, educational institutions and professional services, and we help them get repeat referral business. But what I really like doing is blah, 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 something like that. So it sounds more like you're excited about it and a little bit more interesting versus just your pitch. But I think it shouldn't feel like it's been rehearsed.
Yeah.
Because it just comes off as, I don't know, phony or not natural.
Yep, absolutely.
And how you would.
All right. Uh-oh.
A connection must have just timed out. It's all right. We'll have her back on. It kind of segues nicely into your kind of answer then, Mike.
For me to answer that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have a specific elevator pitch, but I do try to think about kind of the most important single point that I might want to get across. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And
it was like a stunned.
I then because I kind of tailor it. I mean, I kind of tailor what I want to share just based on what I have learned in that moment from that person. So I'm not so much for that memorized piece. I know I kind of narrowed it down to a focus piece that is important to me, but it's going to be kind of dependent upon that situation.
What about you, Ravi?
Yeah, I think when asked, like I said, if I usually ask them first, because I think even when you read, like, for example, books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, like the first key thing they say is that people love talking about themselves. So if you can kind of get the ball rolling and they just get lost into talking about their business or whatever it is, then you can turn around and find that familiar point and then be like, oh, actually, funny you mention network, the internet or social, because I've actually done whatever. And then it's like straight away it's relevant, and you probably got more of a chance then to take the conversation further, or I mean, the goal isn't necessarily sales. I think that's another thing to highlight in networking. It may lead to sales, but if you can get to know 20 people, you might get the sale after 6 months, a year, or a day. So I don't think you should go in with the mindset of closing as many people as possible. Save that for maybe if you do cold calling or door to door or something. There's different strategies, but in a networking event, it's specifically for networking. So increasing the amount of people in your immediate network and getting to know them. So I think that's another key there as well. So pick your moments when to jump in there with any offers or anything that you have.
That's smart. I love that. Don't go in with the intent of selling. It may lead to that, which, but after you build a relationship, Mike, you said it, people do business with who they know, like, and trust. And that is so much key to getting to know them first and foremost. But I think even setting your goal before you get to that conference or networking event, whatever it may be, is that, I want to meet these many people, or I want to meet a person from this industry that does something unique, but maybe even set a goal before you get there of the people that you'd like to meet, so that, then you're focused to when you go in. But just listen intently, Mike. I think, like you said, just listening is going to be the number one thing that you can do, and the key to networking, and stepping outside your comfort zone to do it. Right. Yep.
That's nothing ventured, nothing gained, right?
Yeah. Oh, I like that quote.
Exactly.
Well, guys, it's 2:41. Tips or anything that we haven't mentioned that you would like to wrap it up with, and I'm going to share the link for next week.
Yeah, sure. So I would say have fun. We forgot to mention the most important thing. It's not a business meeting, so throw in a joke in there, talk about your cat, whatever you want to talk about. Put it in the conversation, because when we talk afterwards via email, you're going to remember me talking about my random pet, which I don't have, but anything to do with my personality is going to come out in that chat. And then they're going to remember you because, oh, there's a guy with a British accent, or the one who keeps talking about his pets, or whatever it is. So I think have fun and, open up a bit more and share your personality, because that's what's going to attract like-minded people as well.
Yep. Add value, be uncommon. And a quick story, and that is somebody that stood out to me that I will never forget that was uncommon was I met her, and she said, well, don't think this is weird, but I'm a sniffer. And she grabbed me and she got right up into my neck and she smelled me. And and she said, that helps me remember you. It helps me know you. And guess what it did for me? I totally remember her. It's like, it's the sniffer. I mean, she was uncommon in that. So that might be, a little bit more unique than some people do, but totally memorable that she liked to learn about people by sniffing.
I don't even know what else to say. I say, just get outside your comfort zone, be energized, make sure you spend as much time as you can meeting and mingling. And like you said, having fun, Ravi, listening to others, but then following up with them. Don't leave it there. Pick who you want to take on your second date and get to know them a lot more and build those deeper relationships. Figure who you can align with that will strengthen your relationships and help grow your ROI.
Yep. So, people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. And so you want to be able to network with them and connect.
Exactly. Love it. So next week, we will be back here on Relationships and ROI at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And so a little bit of a time change ongoing, but that's okay. We'll be right here. You can subscribe ahead of time, or you can, click the link that I've shared right here on the side. Next week, we're going to be talking about online meeting tools. So now bringing it back to the online world, online meeting tools. There's a lot that are out there, but how to use them, to do the face-to-face beyond borders. So, I mean, it's not realistic that you can meet with one-on-one, right where you're located at. What kind of meeting tools can you use to enhance your relationships? Because there is something to be said after you have a phone call or an email that somebody can see your face and get to know you a lot more. So excited to have everyone back next week.
Right on. Take care, folks.
All right.
See you guys next week.
Bye.